Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the revamped IFC podcast named Leading to a Higher Altitude. My name is Jacob Snyder. I'm the current IFC VP of Public Relations, and today I'm joined by Jadyn Fulcher, Delta Chi, and Sydney Smarsh, Tri Sigma. Jadyn, Sydney, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here, Jacob.
Thank you for having us on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for making it. Appreciate you taking time out of your day and sitting down with me to get this done. So the first question is going to be a little bit of an icebreaker. What profession, other than the one you are currently pursuing, would you like to try out?
I would say I would want to be a nurse. When I was in high school, I did really well in anatomy and physiology. I got like a 97 or something ridiculously high. But yeah, I don't really like blood, so I think that's the one thing that's holding me back. I didn't apply anywhere for nursing or doctoral anything. I actually originally came into Embry-Riddle as an aerospace engineer. I don't really know who let me think that that was my calling, but I'm a homeland major now, and I think it's what suits me best.
That's good. So you found your home, feel comfortable in what you're doing now.
Yeah, for me, I definitely jumped around a lot in high school. At first, I was medical, and then jumped to law, and now I'm doing mechanical engineering here. So I definitely want to look into possibly running for local office wherever I end up, whether it be Florida or back home in Arkansas. But that's definitely something that's always interested me, and I've always been very passionate about making change in community and just trying to be the best leader I can be.
That's interesting. You both kind of had a little bit of interest in the medical school aspect of things. Anyways, our second question, what inspired you to run for the role of president?
Yeah, so being the Delta Chi president last year, I definitely saw a lot of what was going on in the community, what problems that were there. And I feel like I can bring a different perspective as my predecessor. Don't get me wrong, Scavo did fantastic. I mean, serving 2 years, I can't imagine. But yeah, I think I can definitely bring a new perspective and fresh ideas. And yeah, it's definitely inspired me. But Nick was really the one that pushed me to do it because I had my doubts. Definitely struggled with the doubts for a while, but Nick definitely pushed me and gave me the confidence that I could do a good job and help this community out.
I think all the leaders in the FSL community can kind of empathize with that. Nick pushes a lot of us to step outside our comfort zones and accomplish things we never thought would be possible, and I'm doing one of them right now. So
My story is a little bit different. I more fell into the role at first. During the 2023 Executive Council, I served as the Vice President of Recruitment and Retention for Panhellenic. And then when fall came, due to some unforeseen circumstances, I was put into the role of president, which was kind of a bit of a shock at first. It was a lot to take on, but like you said, we have Nick, and I couldn't have asked for a better support system. And then coming into this 2024 Executive Council, I re-ran out of a sense of pride and obligation to my community. I really, really fell in love with this community during my time as VP of Recruitment and Retention, and I thought that there was so many things that I wanted to expand upon in my fall 2023 semester, so I chose to rerun, and I'm really grateful that I did.
that's awesome. You stepped up to the plate when the community needed you, and now you're excelling in the position, and hopefully the second year is just as good as the first. This next question is a bit of a two-parter. What is your biggest hope for this position, and what is your biggest fear for this position?
Yeah, I really hope that my council and I can do everything we can to squash the beef between chapters. It's really unnecessary, and I mean, we're all a community, we're all a family at the end of the day. We all go to Embry-Riddle, we're all Eagles, and I always like to say that we're really not all that different. We're all bonded under the same thing. I mean, not really, but we're all bonded under a secret ritual. And I think having a respect for that and realizing that we're Embry-Riddle Eagles. We are fraternal men and Panhellenic women. So
yeah, it's definitely important to realize we're all trying to get the same benefits no matter what your chapter title is. We all kind of do the same thing, run our chapters the same type of way. At least the guidelines are the same. But then it's really up to the chapter to take that extra step and really excel.
Do you want to start with your fear, or do you want me to do my hope and then we can
do your hope,
move
and
in?
I'll do my fear, yeah.
Cool. So my hope is similar to Jadyn's. I really hope that I can foster a better sense of community and buy-in to Panhellenic programming. Kind of like what Jadyn said, there's some like rifts or tensions between some of our chapters in the Panhellenic community. As much as we love to promote Panhellenic love, I feel like we don't always have that buy-in. We do in times of loss, as we talked about earlier, but I think coming together as a community, it makes us so much stronger than we are separate. And that's my hope for this community.
Do you think, this is kind of just a side question going off of what you just said, so the Panhellenic side compared to the Interfraternity Council is a lot smaller. So some people from the outside might view that as them being more close-knit and tight together. Is that the case? Why or why not?
That's a really good question.
That is a really good question. I think no matter how many or how much smaller the Panhellenic community is in comparison to the IFC community, with the numbers we have, I think it's hard at whatever size to get a bunch of people on the same page and at the same level of commitment and buy-in. So I'd say maybe in some ways it's easier, but there's still always going to be a difference in personalities, a difference in commitment levels, a difference in interests, and that's kind of what we have to figure out, how to get around and how to have sectors of whatever we're doing that are interest all of the people and all of the different kinds of community members that we have, so that we can really build up that sense of Panhellenic love.
Absolutely.
Love that question, though.
Thank you. Just thought of it on the spot.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a fear, but it's more of just not wanting to overpromise. Like, there's only so much that we as leaders can do, within policy or within just the time frame that we are in this position. So I definitely don't want to overpromise, and I don't want to say I'm going to do something and not do it. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to my best ability and give it my 100%. And if I say I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it. Sometimes, I say I'm going to do something and I don't. So that's definitely a fear of mine.
My biggest fear for this position is not so much a community fear, but more of a personal fear. I'm scared that I really want my vice presidents to feel like they're supported and have the proper resources from me. I want them to feel like I'm somebody that they can come and talk to about literally anything, whether that's personal, position, anything. I need them to know that I care for them and respect them as human beings, but also am able to hold them accountable in their positions. And so I'm just afraid on a personal side that I'm not going to live up to that expectation that I've set for myself.
Very good answers. I actually have no response for those, so we'll just head into the next one. Sydney, this one's just for you. As a returning Panhellenic officer, what lessons are you bringing from your previous term?
On a more personal level, I just want everybody to know, and I kind of talked about this during my inaugural speech in the FSL Executive Leadership Summit, I will sometimes struggle with self-doubt, even though in my heart I know that I'm fully capable of fulfilling this position and leading this community. But so that's something that I'm bringing into the next, this upcoming year, is building more of my self-confidence on like a personal level. But as far as position goes, I'm going to quote Emma, who was the previous Panhellenic president. Something that she said that really resonated with me was, policy doesn't care about your feelings. And we have rules set in place in our FSL policy book, things laid out in our Panhellenic constitution, and then the rules that we have for recruitment and primary recruitment. And those rules are not just there to keep us down, but they're there to keep us safe, they're there to protect us, and they're also there to help us grow and succeed. So even though it might not be fun reading through those kind of documents, we might not like the policies that were set in place. We might not think that they make total sense from the way that we're looking at them. We should just know that they're there to help us. They're there to keep us safe.
Yeah, kind of going back to the first part that you touched on, I think that it's very admirable as a leader to not only look out and see what the community needs, but also focus on yourself and fix things internally so that you can be better on the outside and help those in need. So I think that's huge. And then again, with the policies, couldn't agree more. Some people have problems with them, and that's definitely a problem in this community, that not everybody understands why we have certain rules or policies in place. But yeah, you couldn't have said it better. It's there to protect us, help us grow and succeed and really get the most we can out of this community. So yeah, awesome answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's definitely a lot of misconceptions around the rules that we have set in place. Like you said, Sydney, they're there to keep us safe. They're there to ensure that we grow to, the numbers that we need and the numbers that we want. So, yeah.
And absolutely, even as a incoming freshman, when I joined in fall 2021 and our social chair was planning socials, and I didn't really understand why we needed a form to be submitted 2 weeks in advance. I didn't really understand why I needed to have my name on a list 48 hours in advance. I didn't really understand why that social chair needed to know when I was there and when I left, and needed to turn that information in 72 hours or the Monday after the event. I didn't really understand all that. Now I know it's to keep track of who is at those events in case of liability issues. It's there to keep us safe.
Absolutely. Jadyn, I'm going to switch over to you. This one's going to be targeted at you, but Sydney, you can also join in like Jadyn did.
Sounds
there.
Good.
It's all good. As a former chapter president, what lessons are you bringing with you to this presidency?
A lot. I definitely learned a lot, grew a lot as a person whenever I was president. But definitely the biggest thing that I'm going to take into this is I'm going to have my haters. There are going to be people that absolutely hate what I do, and you know what? That's fine. It doesn't matter, because as long as I can create a better environment for the majority of this community, then I've succeeded in my eyes. And the haters don't matter. The hate comments, that doesn't affect me. And it definitely did, as president, as a young leader, it definitely ate at me, because, it was my brothers that may not have liked what I was doing, but we ultimately got to a place where, we got to a better place. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got to see you grow as chapter president and see you learn from your mistakes and apply them later in the presidency. So when I heard that you were accepted for this role, I was pretty excited to see what you could do with it. So.
Oh yeah, I know you were definitely one of my biggest haters, Jacob.
Yeah, for sure.
And going along with that, a quote that I really take to heart, it was by Izzy Hoare, who's a member, an alumna of Sigma Sigma Sigma, as well as she served as the FSL graduate assistant for some time. She said, "Be the change you want to see." So if you don't like the policies or just the way that either of our executive councils are doing something, run next term. Do it. There's literally nothing holding you back. So you just join. Be the change you want to see.
Yeah, and I think we can all apply that to our chapters. I feel like oftentimes we'll find ourselves complaining and just not making change when, especially the younger guys or girls, you don't realize that you're the next generation of leadership, and we're going to be putting our faith into you guys to continue what we already have going. So I think that's an important point to put emphasis on.
Yeah, it's also just a lot of fun. I personally, since fall 2021, I've been very much just Delta Chi. Die hard Delta Chi. I don't have very many friends outside of Delta Chi, but joining IFC and working with my council, I've already made really strong connections with them, and it's just great to have those deep connections with people that you never thought you would. So yeah, it's really great.
amazing opportunities to come. All right, this next question is going to be a little bit of a tougher one, so if you guys need a second to answer, please take your time. How do you propose FSL stays relevant through the next 10 years?
Sydney, I think you're definitely gonna have to do this one. I'm a little slow burner, you know.
That's okay. Me and Nick were actually just talking about this, so I kind of had a pre-prepared answer. But something that we're seeing in the newer generations of college students, whether that's the 2027, the 2028 classes, they're more interested in what life is going to be like after college. So they're very career-oriented. Of course, we are as well, but they're not buying into the social aspect of college as much as we were and then the classes that came before us. So something that if FSL wants to continue being relevant to these students, we need to start diving deeper into the career-oriented things that we do as chapters and as communities in general, whether that's alumna or alumni networking, having more openness about our scholarships that our local and national organizations offer, as well as just generally networking together as chapters and as professionals. So, for instance, we build a lot as council leaders, relationships with the higher ups at the school. So, for instance, Dean Kohler gave me this awesome suggestion. She wants us to put on a Panhellenic alumni Zoom call where we would have like 1 or 2 representatives from each chapter, an alumni, post-grad, to talk to them and see what life is like after college and have those networking experiences. So that's something that I'm going to be trying to put on, which I think is a really great opportunity for those new incoming students to see, hey, we're not just about this social aspect. Like, we want to succeed and we want to have good careers.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, at the Executive Leadership Summit, I heard Theta Phi Alpha, they do professional like career day preparation together. So they'll all dress up, get their resumes together, meet, and just talk about anything and all their questions. And I think that's awesome. Another thing I heard at the summit was chapters will bring in their alumni or alumnae, and they'll just have like round tables with people that are going into that field so that they can ask the alumni questions and get like real life responses from people that they trust. So yeah, I think that'd be huge. And
Yeah, so I think it's definitely hard to keep fraternity sorority life relevant. There are a lot of misconceptions, and I think the best way to do that is to challenge those misconceptions and just not be the stereotype, right? We aren't a state school. We aren't partying every night. We aren't, doing stupid stuff. I mean, some of us, sure. I mean, let's be honest.
yeah,
BFFR, right, Nick? But yeah, I mean, one misconception that always just kind of grinds my gears is that you're paying for friends, right? We've all heard that. We've all had a P&M come out to us and be like, why do you guys pay for friends? It's like, no, that's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is we're investing in an experience, right? So say you're in a car with four of your other friends and you're driving halfway across the U.S., right? You're not going to make one person pay for it. You're all going to split it up and you're all going to make it even. And that's just how fraternity sorority life is. You're splitting this money and investing in an experience, a road trip, right? But the road trip is a 4-year-long college experience that you're not going to get from just sitting in your dorm and doing schoolwork. That's boring. Like, you're going to get a lot out of it. You're going to get just as much as you put into it, right? The leadership experience, the connections, the networking, even job experience in some cases, So I think it's definitely important to challenge those misconceptions and just be the best that you can be.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great analogy. Couldn't have said it better myself. And just to touch on the first part of what you're saying, something that I kind of coined myself and I like to say is we want to recruit people who are fraternity gentlemen, not frat guys. And just the sheer distinction between those two different like phrases you can definitely hear a difference, and you know what I mean when I say there's a difference between a frat guy and a fraternity gentleman.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that.
All right, and to the last question, how do you plan to define your leadership legacy?
I love this question, Jacob, because it's what we talk about with the PNMs every time they're coming in. It's our whole community slogan or tagline. But define your leadership legacy. What that means to me is I want to be known whenever I leave Embry-Riddle is how transparent and open and authentic I was with our community members. Something that I tried to start in the fall of 2023, so this past recruitment season, was being more transparent and open with the PNMs on what the Panhellenic process is like for formal recruitment, as well as what the back end of it looks like. It's really, really scary coming into this big formal process where you're doing rankings and preferences, and on the back end they're ranking you too, and it's really intimidating as a freshman or even a sophomore or even a junior whenever you're just going through recruitment. So being transparent and open with the PNMs was something that I started, and I'd really like to continue that. And obviously it's going to be in a different sort of capacity now as president, but being transparent and open with everybody. I'd also like to be known for how I lead by example and hold my siblings accountable. It's kind of a divisive question. It really gets the room split when we talked about this at the FSL Executive Leadership Summit during the Leadership on a Spectrum activity. This question is always asked, do you think that you should lead by example? Do you think that's where your credibility comes from? And for me, the answer is yes. I can't expect my peers to act in accordance with the policies and expectations that we have as a community if I myself am not doing those exact things. So being able to hold myself accountable and hold my siblings accountable is something that I'd like to be able to be known for when I leave.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you touched on recruitment. People want to join people. People don't want to join an organization. So if you just are a good example of what your fraternity or sorority values truly are, then you'll probably recruit the right people.
And Sydney, I think you've done a really good job of exemplifying that so far, and I'm excited to see where you take it. But for me, I think that I resonate with Sydney a lot on this, just wanting to be transparent with people and just be a genuine leader, right? I definitely want people to remember me as someone that they could go to about, with any question, with concerns, even with stuff that they're struggling with, whether they're in my chapter or not. I like to think that I'm a very authentic person. I'm going to tell you how it is. Not going to I didn't say it. I'm not going to BS it, right? I really want this community to just be, and I know I said this before, but I want this community to be less at each other's throats, right? It's always one person in your chapter. I guarantee you that every leader that is listening to this right now has experienced this. It's always one chapter member that is spreading rumors about another fraternity or another sorority and saying oh, screw this person, screw that chapter now. And it's no, that's not how it should be. If you have a problem with someone, talk to them, squash the beef. It's not just because they're in another organization does not mean it's entirely that organization's fault, right? So one way that I've been brainstorming with my council is bringing back Greek Week. We haven't had it since 2006, and I think it'd be a really good opportunity for the community to come together and just have a healthy competition where nobody owns it, and nobody's gonna there's gonna be a winner, but I don't think there's gonna be beef from that. I think it would be a really good opportunity for everyone to just come together, socialize, and just be fraternal and Panhellenic men and women.
Definitely have that healthy competitiveness involved. I think we get caught up sometimes in our own philanthropy weeks, and we want to win for this organization or that organization. But yeah, I think Greek Week would be huge. Just give all chapters one thing to focus on. It's nobody in particular, and really just put our all into it.
I think something that would help with that overall buy-in for Greek Week is looking at our own schedules as chapters and not over-programming ourselves, it's hard to get buy-in or attendance or participation for our own chapter events when we have basically one every night. So it's really hard to expect people to come to IFC and Panhellenic events if they can't even make it to their own. So I think it would be really interesting to utilize our FSL calendar more and maybe see where we can prioritize certain events as chapters so that we're able to have like a Greek week. Because I know when Blue and Gold Week comes around, not many people are interested, even if like IFC or Panhellenic is attempting to put something on. I know we haven't really gotten there in the past, but we don't have like the interest or the buy-in to like even get to that step sometimes. So making sure that we don't like have enough burnout. I'm sure that's something you could talk about in like another podcast episode. I don't want to get too much into it right now, but having that buy-in comes from how we program ourselves as chapters first.
Yeah, that's a great point, Cindy. There is definitely burnout from it. I mean, we're fundraising and tabling for these other organizations, and it's like, how do you find time to table even for your own organization, your own philanthropy? So yeah, definitely looking into trying to work around everybody's schedule and getting it going is going to be hard, but I think we can definitely do it.
Jacob, you had a really great quote earlier. I think you should talk about it and share now.
Oh, yeah. I think a big problem that we have as fraternity and sorority life as a whole is that we expect other chapters to participate in everything that we put on, but when it becomes internal and we get asked to participate in another chapter's event, the effort or just the effort isn't always there. And I feel like if we all put 100% effort into each other's philanthropy events or Greek week or tabling, like whatever, if we just all put 100% in, we're all going to see major improvements in our individual chapters. And I think that's just a big takeaway. Like you can't expect people to participate in your events if you're not out there actively participating, raising money, and like doing that sort of thing. So, yeah. Are there any final questions or comments you guys have that you would like the FSL community to know?
Yeah, so I've really loved this. This was a really fun podcast to do. So Jacob, what is your hope and what is your goal for this? Like, what do you want to see resonate with the community?
So my goal and kind of expectation for this podcast is to peel back that curtain, let people in kind of behind the scenes and really get the real answers that I think a lot of us are looking for, but are either too scared to ask or don't know who to ask. So yeah, I think just getting people on that are involved with the community and asking like kind of harder, more important questions that not everybody has the chance to ask, I think would be beneficial, and we can all learn a lot from this. So that's my goal and kind of how I'd like to define my leadership legacy. Just make this something that's taken seriously and that people really want to listen to and they'll get something out of it. So yeah, if I even just impact one person, I'd be happy. But obviously, the more the merrier. So, all right. So thank you guys for coming on to the Leading to a Higher Altitude podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed and have a great rest of your night.